Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome back to my YouTube channel here. And we are back with more NFL predictions for the next round of the playoffs. So we have the divisional round of the playoffs coming up, and I am really excited to bring you guys my thoughts. As you guys know, last week I was 6-0 on my predictions. I was 4-2 against the spread if you're a bettor. So I don't know if I helped you or not, if you actually took my advice on the gambling picks. I'll try to do a little bit of that as well here. We'll see how I do against the spread, but straight up, I was 6-0. Picked all the winners, and 4 of the games I picked correctly in terms of betting from the betting line. So I missed the 49ers and the Bills. They both did not cover, or I mean, I picked the Seahawks to cover, but they did not, and I picked the Bills to go over the margin, and they did not. So let's get right into it. I kind of wanted to do the Chiefs last, but I think it's better if I just go in order by the way the games are going to be played, and the Chiefs are going to be the first game played. So let's go ahead. Let's kick it off here. All right. So the first game of the season, good grief. First game of the weekend is the Jacksonville Jaguars against the Chiefs. It's going to be taking place at 3:30 Central Time here in the Midwest. Going to be played obviously at Arrowhead Stadium. So just looking at the matchup predictor here, Chiefs have about 3-1 edge here, 78%, 79% to a little over 21% for the Jaguars. This is going to be an interesting game. Obviously, these two teams have already seen each other one time, and hang on a second here as I move some stuff around here on my desk. So. These two teams played in Week 10, and the Chiefs won 27-17. And a lot of the talk around, the talking heads, the NFL experts, the fans, the media, is how that game is meaningless and doesn't really tell us anything about what's going to come up in this game on Saturday or tomorrow. I tend to think that you can find nuggets of information, though. Obviously, this is a different Jacksonville team. The Jaguars were 3-6. They were 3-7 after losing that game. And they only lost one more game beyond that, and that was to the Detroit Lions when they just got waxed. And it looked more like the Lions were going to be the team that was going to sneak into the playoffs, and the Jaguars were going nowhere. I did predict after Week 6, I predicted the Jaguars to finish 7-10, but still finish in first place. I saw the Titans collapse coming, and it was pretty easy to see that because Ryan Tannehill. Going out and then playing backup quarterbacks. The Titans were just not good. Jaguars aren't a tremendous team either. They have a decent quarterback. They got a really good head coach, and they've got some excitement. Obviously, last week overcoming the third largest deficit in playoff history to win a game down 27-0 and coming back to win 31-30. I think that result, though, just from me looking at it, was more about the Chargers charging than the Jaguars jaguaring. Is that a word? No, it's not. It's more about, in my opinion, it's more about the Jaguars taking what the Chargers were doing, and the Chargers weren't doing anything. Matter of fact, they changed their defense completely in the second half and just let Lawrence go up and down the field on them. I don't understand. They actually changed their coverage. It's not like they were winning in the first half, winning the individual matchups, and they were losing the individual matchups in the second half. No, they employed a different defense, and it was completely counterintuitive to what they were doing. I mean, now that being said, they make one stop on any of the 5 drives the Jaguars had, and they win this game, or they stop that 2-point conversion, or Joey Bosa doesn't lose his mind, and perhaps they play in overtime, and maybe the Chargers win in overtime. I don't know. You never know what would happen. Obviously, the decisions that were made, and the Jaguars took advantage of it. So congratulations to them. But when we look back at that first game, the Chiefs had nearly 500 yards of total offense, and they were -3 in the turnover margin. Two of those three turnovers were self-inflicted, weren't really caused by the Jaguars. Jaguars also recovered an onside kick to start the game. That's 4 possessions that the Jaguars got over the Chiefs, and they still lost by double digits. And they were actually down by 17 points with about 7 minutes to go. So they were down 3 scores halfway through the fourth quarter. This game was not as close as what people remember it. And the Chiefs having nearly 500 yards of offense, it was the turnovers obviously limited their point production. And the turnovers has been an issue for the Chiefs this year. I'm not going to say it's not been. But there's a lot of people out there playing the what-if game. And they're throwing things out there like, what if the Jaguars didn't miss 2 field goals against the Chiefs? Or what if they didn't do this? Or what if they didn't do that? It's funny how the team that's not as good is always given the benefit of the doubt with the what if analysis. It drives me crazy, drives me bananas. Okay, I'll play the what if analysis too. What if the Chiefs didn't turn the ball over 3 times and got, let's just be generous and say they got 2 touchdowns and a field goal out of that? Well, suddenly it's a 44-17 margin of victory. Is anyone talking about that? Is anyone talking about the Chiefs, shooting themselves in the foot there? No one's talking about that because that's a boring story. But it can be just as true as playing the what if game on the other side. The fact is, the Jaguars are a decent team, but they're not the Chiefs. They're not as good as the Chiefs. Their coach is not as good. Their quarterback's not as good. Their defense is not as good. And the things that the Jaguars don't do well, the counter side is that the Chiefs do very well. The Jaguars are very, very poor against the pass. They're one of the worst third down defenses in the league. And the Chiefs are one of the best passing attacks in the league. Matter of fact, they are the number 1 offense in the league, and they are second in third down conversions. I don't see this being a game. Now, if you watch my Madden simulations, you'll notice that it was a 5-5. The Chiefs won 5 times, the Jaguars won 5 times, and the total margin of victory, when you add it all up and divide by 10, was 1 point. And that got me a little nervous, but then I thought, this is a video game. And even video games with players being rated as almost perfect ratings like Patrick Mahomes is, it still cannot account for what Patrick Mahomes does on the football field and the fact that he is the best quarterback in the league. It's not even close. Patrick Mahomes has never lost in this round of the playoffs. There was one semi-close game, and I say semi-close because the Chiefs had to have when they beat the Browns. But if you remember in that game, Mahomes got hurt, and I think he got hurt when the Chiefs were up 11, and then up 12 or 11, something like that, and then the Browns got a touch. I can't remember the exact flow of the game, but I remember Henne came in and just basically held on. And he even threw an interception, and Henne almost threw the game away. The Chiefs were fortunate to win that game because Mahomes went out. And that shows you just how important someone like Patrick Mahomes is to their team. The starting quarterback for any team is important. And it's one of the things that drives me crazy is about what fans will say. Bills fans are notorious for this. They're like, well, the Chiefs wouldn't be as good if Patrick Mahomes wasn't on your quarterback. Well, no crap. I mean, seriously. I mean, the Bills wouldn't be as good if Josh Allen wasn't their quarterback. The thing is that the quarterback is the most important position on the football field, and having the best one in the league, you're going to be one of the best teams in the league because of it. I mean, it's a stupid argument. The Chiefs are better than the Jaguars, and the Chiefs should win this week. So, Chiefs, they're 8.5-point favorites. So how do I see this game going? Well, I'm picking the Chiefs to win. There's a lot of people picking close games. A lot of people think that the Jaguars are going to cover. They're thinking the Jaguars are sneaky good. They're talking about the Jaguars' offensive line. They're talking about the defensive line, how it's sneaky good. Let me tell you something about the lines here. First of all, the Jaguars' offensive line. It's big. It's strong. It's not athletic. The Chiefs' defensive line, big, strong, and athletic. They will eat this offensive line for lunch. They sacked Lawrence 5 times in the first meeting. I expect a similar result here. Frank Clark is on a mission. Frank Clark right now is tied for 5th all-time in postseason sacks in NFL history. And he only needs 4 sacks to move into second place. And he needs 5.5 sacks to take the lead, to be the number one all-time sack leader in NFL playoff history. Frank Clark. Can you imagine that? So in 3 games, potentially, if they win here and they win next week and they win in the Super Bowl or they play in the Super Bowl, can you see a road that Frank Clark can get 5.5 sacks in 3 games? I can. I absolutely can. Especially with the way the Chiefs defense, the secondary has been playing. All the talk about how the Chiefs start 2 rookies back there. They're not rookies anymore. These guys are tested. They're battle tested out there. Yeah, this is going to come across as a homer pick. I'm just talking about the Chiefs, but the thing is, I was talking about the line. So let's go back and talk about the other side of the line. Let's talk about the Chiefs. When they're on offense, the Chiefs, they're going to expect the Jaguars to probably put some pressure on Mahomes, right? That's what you would expect, because if you just let Mahomes sit back there and pick you apart, he's gonna destroy you. Patrick Mahomes has the highest QBR in the NFL when he's not facing pressure. It's 80. He's a QBR of just right under 8. It's like 84.7, and then his completion percentage of 77% when he's not facing pressure. And we know how good Mahomes is when he's under the blitz, because he almost always finds the right guy who's not being covered. This is why Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL. He's great when you blitz him. He's great when you don't blitz him. That is a guy who is playing at the top of his level. And I expect him to do this for 3, 4, 5 more years. Then maybe we'll start seeing a slow decline over the years. But this guy is just hitting the peak of his ability. And sign me up for this ride, because I want to experience this ride for as long as I can. When it comes to the Chiefs' offensive line, their pass block percentage, their win rate is 75%. So even when you do blitz, even when you do try to bring extra pressure, or you're just going one-on-one, the Chiefs' offensive line is going to beat you 3 out of 4 times. And the time that they don't win the matchup there, Mahomes is going to bail out of the pocket. He's going to run around. He's going to create, or he's going to take off and run for 14 yards on a first down. How do you beat this team? Well, you beat this team by being physical up front and by knocking down the receivers, being physical with Travis Kelce. Kind of like the way the Bengals did. The Bengals have the blueprint. The Bengals have some really athletic. Their front 7 is very athletic, and it gives the Chiefs matchup problems. But obviously, we're not playing the Bengals. We're playing the Jaguars here. This is not going to be a close game. I do expect I expect the announcers, honestly, to talk about how they try to hype up the Jaguars and to, try to keep them, talk them into the game. And I think by halftime, it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be like it was against the Steelers last year with the Chiefs. I think we're up like 28-7, or maybe it was in 35-7 at halftime, or was it 21-7? I can't remember what the score was at halftime. I think it was 28-7. Yeah, it was 28-7 at the half. I expect 21-7. It doesn't matter. The Chiefs were up big at half, and I expect them to do a similar thing against the Jaguars. I see them getting out to a lead, 17, 21 points in the first half. Jaguars probably getting a touchdown or field. I see the Jaguars down anywhere from 10 to 14 points at halftime. And then by the time that the third quarter is coming to a close, I really think the Chiefs are going to be 3 to 4 touchdowns. I really do. I don't think the Chiefs are going to hold back here. I think they'll keep some things back a little bit, because I do think they expect to be in the next round of the playoffs. Where that's going to be, we'll talk about that in a second. Sometimes Andy Reid takes his foot off the gas in these games. I don't expect that to happen here, especially with some of the comments that Trevor Lawrence has made. Hold on. Let me address that issue real quick about Trevor Lawrence. So there's this bulletin board quote going out there where he's saying that the Arrowhead Stadium, that the Jacksonville is just as loud as Arrowhead, or he doesn't think it's any louder than Jacksonville. So there's 2 parts to this quote. The full context is, so the Chiefs fans are getting on this once on the second half of the quote, and then the Jaguar fans have been all over social media saying, "Well, you're not listening to the full quote. You're just trying to make yourself a victim." The full version of the quote goes something to the effect of, he said that Arrowhead's one of the loudest stadiums in the NFL, and then that's the first part of the statement, and then the second half of the statement is, I don't think it's any much louder than Jacksonville. So he qualified his statement. So Jaguar fans are saying, look, he gave you credit. He gave you guys credit by saying it's one of the loudest in the NFL. Yeah, but then he turned around and qualified. That's called a yes, but statement, okay? He said something, and then he immediately countered it with another statement. So, yeah, it was a stupid thing for Trevor Lawrence to say, and I think he's going to really feel what playoff football looks like and what it feels like, what it sounds like, what it smells like. Because when he's down on the ground after being sacked for a 7th time, and after Frank Clark gets his 3rd sack of the day, and the Chiefs are up 38-10 in the 4th quarter, he's going to know what it's like. I think the Chiefs win this one going away. Give me Kansas City 45, Jacksonville 17. On to the next game. The Philadelphia Eagles at home taking on the New York Football Giants. So similar percentage here on ESPN, about 79, almost 80%, almost 4-1 favor the Eagles to the Giants. The one thing about this game is that it features two quarterbacks that are fairly similar in their styles. And when I say similar, I'm not saying that Daniel Jones is on the same level as Jalen Hurts. That being said, Jalen Hurts has had one really, really great year in his career so far. So it remains to be seen if he's going to keep this production up. But, he has had a very fine season. Daniel Jones has had a nice season too. Not a lot of touchdowns, only 15 touchdowns this year, but he throws the fewest amount of interceptions per attempt than any other quarterback in the league. So he takes care of the ball. The Giants, though, were not good down the stretch, but I did pick them last week, and they did come through of beating the Minnesota Vikings. Now, this is a rematch. Obviously, these guys face each other, both playing in the NFC East. The Eagles won both games, I believe. Yeah, they won both games in this series this year. The Giants are a nice story. The Giants were terrible last year, though. I think they only won 2 or 3 games, did not have a good season, and really there was no expectation about the Giants coming into this game. Sorry, my nose itches like crazy, and it's driving me nuts. When I said earlier that the two quarterbacks are very similar, I'm talking about they both like to run the football. Now, they get there with different methods, essentially. Daniel Jones, while he does have some designed runs, he's more of a, hey, I'm going to bail out of the pocket and scramble for my yards, as opposed to Jalen Hurts, who actually had the 3rd most yardage on design runs of any quarterback in the league. I believe he was only behind Justin Fields and Josh Allen in that regard. I don't know that for a fact, but I'm guessing if he's 3rd, I'm guessing Fields and Allen were above him. That's pretty logical there. So they're both kind of running quarterbacks. Jones was over 700 yards this year. Hurts was around 750-ish yards running the football. But Hurts is a much better passer than Daniel Jones. He'll take a little more chances. He's more aggressive when it comes to passing. And the Eagles just have better weapons all around them. The New York Giants have a great running back in Saquon Barkley. And if you're going to be able to close out games, you got to be able to run the football. But I really think that the Giants are going to find themselves down here, and they're not going to be able to turn to Saquon Barkley to run the ball and to kind of shorten that game. That's really the only way I can see this team winning, is shortening the game and keeping the Philadelphia offense on the sideline. Now, when I say keeping them on the sideline, is that really an advantage? Because the Eagles' defense is fantastic, and this is a unit that led the league in sacks this season. Actually, matter of fact, set an NFL record. They have 4 guys over double digits in sacks. So the New York offensive line is decent, but it's going to be hard pressed to keep these guys at bay and to keep Daniel Jones upright. Jones is not that tremendous against pressure, but that's usually where his runs come in. The scrambles, he bails out. He doesn't make a lot of errors. He doesn't throw, like I said earlier, doesn't throw a lot of interceptions. So the pressure doesn't usually lead to interceptions for Jones, but it usually leads to him running around. I really think the Eagles have a tremendous advantage when it comes to their defensive line versus the New York offensive line. The big wild card, though, is what is the status of Jalen Hurts? Obviously, he didn't play the final 2 games because of an injury. the Eagles still got a bye, or was it the final 3 games? I think it was the final 2 games because of an injury, and then they had a bye in the first round of the playoffs. So it's been 3-4 weeks since he's even played a game. So how is he going to come out? Is he going to come out and be hot? Is he going to be rusty? Is he going to take some time to get more acclimated to the game? Honestly, I think a lot of this stuff is just for people like me to talk about. And I think guys are, especially at his age, he's a very young quarterback. I don't think rust and stuff like that's going to affect him too much, the time off. I think he's itching to get back there, and I think he's itching to show people that he belongs in the MVP race, even though he's not going to win it. I don't even think he's going to finish third, or I think he'll probably finish fourth. But yeah, it's going to be all about what is the status of Hurts and how well does he play. He's definitely going to play, and if he plays decent football, I'm not going to say if he plays good football. He plays decent football. The Eagles win this game by 10 points. If Hurts goes out there and has a great game and the defensive line of the Eagles dominates, they're going to beat the Giants here by 3 touchdowns. The only avenue to victory for the Giants in this game is for Daniel Jones to have a legendary game, but then again, a legendary game with what receivers around him. Their number one receiver right now is a guy that was signed off the Buffalo practice squad. I'm not seeing it. I give them all the credit in the world for their offensive game plan last week, which surprised a lot of people. Of course, if you remember my video, I said, give me the Giants in a more high-scoring game than they're used to. I really thought they'd come out and score points, and they did. They came out and scored 31 points. I don't see it against the Eagles' defense. I think the Eagles can bring their C-plus game and still win this game. If they bring their C-plus game and win, I think there's going to be a lot of questions about them making the Super Bowl. I don't see the Eagles losing to the Giants that much in this situation. The Madden simulations I had, I think it was a lot closer than was it 5-5? I think it was 5-5 or 6-4. And it was by an average of, I think it was a 2-point game. So even the Madden simulations were a lot closer than what I think a lot of people are picking here, 4-1 in favor of the Eagles. Eagles are 7.5-point favorites. So that's a number that is just begging people to put money on the Giants. And so what is Vegas trying to tell us there? I think they're trying to get people to put money on the Giants, so they'll take their money because the Eagles are going to win and cover. So give me the Eagles. Let's go 34-24. Win by 10 points, and they will cover. I think it's going to be like a 34-17. I think it's going to be not as close, and I think the Giants will get a touchdown to pull within 10, make it look a little more respectable. One of those type of games, kind of like the Chiefs and Bills from the 2020 championship game. So, yeah, Eagles by 10, 34-24 is my official prediction here. All right, now let's go to what many are calling the game of the week. Now, I'm a little surprised here by the matchup predictor, 65-35 in favor of the Bills over the Bengals. Now, the game is in Orchard Park. The Buffalo is 5.5-point favorites, so that number surprises me. That number is telling me that they're wanting people to put money on Buffalo. I mean, pretty heavily. I think that just screams put money on the Bills. Now, the one thing about Buffalo is that when they play at home under Sean McDermott, they're 4-0. They have not lost a game in Orchard Park when Sean McDermott is their coach. Now, conversely, Cincinnati, they have 2 road wins in the last 2 playoffs. Obviously, they won at Tennessee last year, and they won at Arrowhead Stadium to go to the Super Bowl. Now, I don't think Cincinnati played terribly great football in either of those 2 games, but they still came out with victory. So they know how to win on the road. The question with Cincinnati, though, is their offensive line. And, they lost their left tackle, Williams. He's got a dislocated kneecap, not going to play. And even if they win, he probably doesn't play in the AFC Championship game either. And I just go back to when Patrick Mahomes dislocated his kneecap and he was out, missed 2 full games, and he missed the rest of the game that he got hurt in Denver. Then he missed the next 2 games as well. And he was fairly ineffective in the game that he came back in. When I say ineffective, he wasn't moving around that well, even though he had a good passing game that day against Tennessee. Left tackle, he needs to be completely healed. He needs to really be back to 100% before he can come back. I don't see him coming back. Even if they make the Super Bowl, I don't see him coming back this year. And his backup is not good. Matter of fact, he looked pretty bad against the Ravens. The Ravens defensive front just ate the left side of that offensive line of Cincinnati for breakfast. Cincinnati, as I've mentioned before, has been a very, very lucky team with turnovers in the playoffs. They're +9, they're +11 in their games since the start of the 2021 playoffs, which is almost unfathomably high. And a lot of their games have been close games. So, I mean, they have depended on these turnovers to win these games. And sometimes you cannot predict turnovers, and sometimes you can't count on them. Sometimes you just have to go out and win a game straight up. Now, fortunately for them, they're facing the most turnover-prone quarterback in the NFL this year, in Josh Allen. Now, Buffalo apologists, Buffalo fans, the Buffalo media, the national media, Skip Bayless, all these guys want to talk about how Josh Allen is the best quarterback in the league, and they always try to make this thing about him and Mahomes. Allen and Mahomes. Allen's a better quarterback, and Allen has never been a better quarterback than Patrick Mahomes. On no planet is Josh Allen better than Patrick Mahomes. The eye test doesn't support it. The statistics don't support it. Nothing supports it. Oh, well, he's the number 1 rated quarterback. Look over there at PFF. He's their number 1 quarterback rated this year. Yeah, I see it. I see he's 0.4 of a percentage point ahead of Patrick Mahomes, who's in second place. So, yeah, PFF, I don't understand. I don't understand their ratings, which are highly subjective, by the way. And they just go out and invent new stats, essentially to prop Allen up, from my understanding. And they don't like to show what's underneath the hood, because their statistics and their analysis is very, very subjective. It's not objective, it's subjective. So PFF, yeah, give me a break. But Josh Allen, what we do know about Allen from the is turnovers. He fumbles a lot. He throws a lot of stupid interceptions. And when he's not throwing interceptions, he's throwing the ball 50 yards down the field. He's always trying to hit the big play. Now, the one thing that's going to come into play this game is I think a lot of times Josh Allen throws it out trying to get pass interference calls. If his guy doesn't make the catch, he's going to try to draw the flag. They are going to be getting Carl Cheffers, the worst referee in the league. Now, if Cheffers doesn't throw the most flags in the league, Sean Hockley, who's actually doing the Chiefs game, throws more flags than Carl Cheffers does. But Cheffers is the most inconsistent with throwing flags. And one thing that, if you remember in some of these other games, Carl Cheffers throws more flags that are picked up and not called than any other referee in the league as well. Which shows you that this guy and his crew are out there looking for reasons to throw the flag, as opposed to just calling it as it may. Call the game as it's, as it is. Don't anticipate penalties. Because when you start anticipating penalties, you get flag happy. And you think, oh, well, I think that was pass interference, or I think that was offensive holding. Just because a defensive lineman is now running away from an offensive lineman when the quarterback breaks out of the pocket, and you see the defensive lineman throw his arms up in the air, that doesn't always mean he's being held, okay? So, Cheffers, keep your flags in your pocket, for the sake of everybody who wants to watch this game and see a good football game. The Bills' defense is still really good, even without Von Miller, but they're not the same. They have to bring extra pressure. They have to bring extra blitzes. Matt Milano blitzed 8 times against the Dolphins. When Von Miller was there, they could get pressure without blitzing Milano. But now they have to bring an extra guy because they're not winning against the offensive line of the opposing team. Now, are they going to win against two backups against the Bengals and another guy who's really banged up? I don't know. Me as a Chiefs fan, I understand what it's like when your offensive line is in chaos and the defensive line of the other team just pulverizes you. Like that's what happened to the Chiefs in the 2020 Super Bowl and against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And this is going to be a situation where Joe Burrow is going to have to get the ball out and fast. Fortunately for him, he has the second highest speed of getting the ball out. From the time he gets the ball to the time he throws it, it's the second fastest in the NFL. That's going to have to stay. That's going to have to keep up there. And fortunately for him, he's got three really, really fantastic wide receivers. Jamar Chase has caught 7 passes, I think, in like 10 straight games at least. I mean, the guy is a machine. And they're going to have Burrow a lot of times also holds the ball when I say he holds the ball a long time, a lot of times he's looking for that play, but against pressure, he gets the ball out quickly. He's going to have to abandon these long developing plays with the times where he does hold on to the ball a little longer, trying to get, throw his receivers open, get them to run through coverage and run away from coverage. He's not going to have time to do that in this game. He's going to have to take the shorter passes. He's going to have to take the quick hitters. He's going to have to look, to use Sammy Perrine more in the flat. I would say they would need to try to use Mixon more in the ground game, but I don't think they're going to try to run the ball that much. There is a chance it's going to snow on Sunday in Buffalo. I don't think either of these quarterbacks. Matter of fact, when in games that snow, it favors the offense tremendously because the offensive players know where they're going and the defensive players don't. Rain typically bogs down a passing game, but snow does not affect passing games like rain does. So, I expect this to be a high-scoring game. I expect Buffalo to come out with a lot of emotion. They expect DeMar Hamlin to be in the building. The Bills are going to milk that for all it's worth. I'm putting the over-under of how many times they showed DeMar Hamlin on the camera at about 47. So feel free to take – you'd probably take the under on that. Of course, I'm joking, obviously. 47 is actually my favorite number. It's a prime number, by the way, So it's going to be a game that's going to come down to how many times has Josh Allen turned the ball over. Only 2 quarterbacks in NFL history have led the league in turnovers and made the conference championship game. Jim Kelly, also a Buffalo Bill, in 1992, and Eli Manning in 2007. Now, what do those 2 quarterbacks have in common? Not only did they make the championship game, but they both made the Super Bowl, and Eli Manning won the Super Bowl that year. That was the year that, the helmet catch, with David Tyree against the perfect season of the Patriots. And then, obviously, the Bills walking into a buzzsaw. That was the Dallas Cowboys. The first of their 3 Super Bowl victories in a row. Now, some people will say, "Oh, well, look, there we go, Josh Allen. There's precedent there." It's an interesting stat, but the more interesting thing, it's not to show that it can happen. It's to show that it hardly ever happens. That it could under some unique circumstance. So, are you going to go with Allen, who is a talented quarterback, and Bills are a talented team? Are we going to go with them because even despite Allen's inconsistencies with turning the ball over? Or are we going to go with Cincinnati, who doesn't turn the ball over as much, but is missing part of their offensive line? This is a tough game to pick, and I've gone back and forth on this game in my mind all week. As a Chiefs fan, I want the Chiefs to win, and I want them to play the next week at home. That can only happen if the Bengals win. But the Bengals also have the Chiefs' number. And the Chiefs have ended the Buffalo Bills season 2 straight times in the playoffs, in 2020 and 2021. I think the Bills really want revenge there. I think the Chiefs match up better with Buffalo than they do Cincinnati, even though Cincinnati has won 3 in a row against the Chiefs, but only by 3 points in each game. And you can make the argument that 2 of those 3 games the Chiefs definitely should have won. I think they could have won all 3, but they definitely should have won in the championship game last year. There was no excuse for losing that game. That was just a fluky thing that when Mahomes just lost his mind and Andy Reid didn't take points at the end of the second quarter which would have won the game for the Chiefs. It would have kept the momentum going, and I think the Chiefs get another touchdown to start the second half, and I think that's it. The Bengals would have been cooked, and the Chiefs would have blown the doors off the Rams in the Super Bowl. We would have been talking 2 Super Bowls in 3 years and 3 straight Super Bowls, possibly 4 straight, if Dee Ford had lined up onside against Tom Brady in 2018. The Chiefs are so close to have been in every Super Bowl in Patrick Mahomes' time as a starter. They have been so close. But it shows you just how close these games are that come down to inches, and how being great at the little things matters so much. That the fine details are what really, really matter. Oh, this game is going to... I expect this to be the best game of the weekend. I expect it to be close. I want to face the Bengals and get revenge on them. But I don't think they're going to do it. I think the Bills are going to win. I think it's going to be, the over-under. What is the over-under? Is it on here? 49. That's a pretty low number for these two teams. I think Buffalo's gonna win this game. I think it's gonna come down to a final possession. I think it's give me Buffalo 27. No, give me Buffalo 26. Buffalo 26, Cincinnati 24. I think Buffalo wins, but Cincinnati covers. So 26-24. Here, I got to write these down, what I've been doing, so I don't have to go back and watch this again. I had the Chiefs at 45-17. I had the Eagles beating the Giants. I can't remember what that was. Oh, 34-24. And then I have the Bills winning 26-24. I don't want the Bills to win because I don't want to go at the Chiefs to have to play the AFC Championship game on the road. But with the extra emotion of Buffalo and the fact that Cincinnati's offensive line is in shambles, I think the Bills are going to make enough plays on defense to win the game and to squeak by. So I got the Bills by 2. So I have the Bengals covering that number. Final game, and this is for my friend Francine, who was itching to know when I was going to post this video because she wants to know who's going to win this game, Dallas and San Francisco. Oh, sorry, Francine. That's it for the show. Thanks, everybody, for watching the video. No, I'm just joking. I'm sorry, Francine. That was really mean to do. So I love you. Oh, I miss Francine. I worked with her for several years at my previous job. So what do I see here? Dallas Cowboys and San Francisco 49ers. If you had told me... Now, when I initially was thinking about this game, when I made the picks before... When I made my picks all the way to the Super Bowl, obviously I had this matchup because I got the first round right completely. I picked the 49ers to win this game. And I didn't even think twice about it. I was like, well, they're going to be at home. They're the better team. And then I watched the Dallas Cowboys completely dismantle Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I just annihilated them in a game that wasn't even as close as the score was. And the score was what? 31-14. It wasn't even that close, guys. Dallas was phenomenal on offense. They were absolutely fantastic. Dallas is one of the best defenses in the league. They've got one of the best defensive players in Micah Parsons. They are the number one team. They're number one defense in the NFL at pressuring the quarterback. They pressure the quarterback at 39%. That is number one in the NFL. That's even higher than the Chiefs, who are fairly high up there as well. Now, to combat that, Brock Purdy, in a very small sample size, has 4 touchdowns, no interceptions when he's under what the NFL considers under pressure. Brock Purdy is a nice story, and he is a better quarterback than Jimmy Garoppolo. I really think that Brock Purdy is going to be in for a shock in this game. I think this is where inexperience really comes into play. Brock Purdy was the same quarterback when his freshman year at Iowa State as he was when he graduated. This guy he's the same guy. This is all about the system. This is about Kyle Shanahan's system for, having any quarterback that can plug and play and fits around, really good talent around him. The fact that Kyle Shanahan sits at 13-4 with this team with 3 different quarterbacks having some time this year. At least I think, did Trey Lance get any time? Or did Garoppolo start this season when Trey Lance got hurt? I can't remember if he got hurt in preseason or if it was like in week 1 or week 2. The bottom line is that this is a quarterback agnostic system that Shanahan runs. And I think that's to their detriment at the end of the day, especially with a guy who doesn't have playoff experience and against a Dallas team that, Dak is the oldest quarterback left in the field. He's 29 years old. He's been highly inconsistent. He throws a lot of interceptions, but he was great last week against a Tampa defense that's average. They're not great, but they're not terrible either. Now, the Niners have one of the best defenses in football. So Dak's going to be under more pressure this week. Nicky Bosa is one of the best, edge rushers in the league. He leads the league in sacks with 18 or 19 sacks, something like that. He's a tremendous talent. His brother could learn a lot from him, especially how to keep his cool. A wild card in this game is their kicker, Mayer, who missed 4 extra points just inexplicably in that game against the Buccaneers. I was kind of flipping back and forth between watching it and watching the Manning cast. And Peyton Manning, after he missed the 3rd extra point, Peyton Manning just lost his marbles. He was so upset at their kicker. And this is a guy who is a really good kicker. He's one of the best distance kickers in the league. He's the best kicker at 50 plus. I think he was like 7 for 9 this year on field goals of over 50 yards. I think it's you guys know that kicking can be a mental game as much as it is a physical game. And if it comes down to a kick, I think Dallas is going to be in a little bit of a trouble situation. I don't say that because Mayer is a bad kicker. I think he's a really good kicker. But because of what happened last week, if he's called upon to make a kick at a crucial time, he's going to, regardless of, he'll tell you that he wants to go out there and make the kick, and he wants the opportunity to make the play. But he's going to be doubtful about his own self. He's going to know what happened last week and all those missed extra points. So what's going to happen in this game? You've got 2 teams that do a lot of things well. Both teams have great defensive lines. Both teams have great offenses. The 49ers have more weapons than the Cowboys do, but that's not to say that the Cowboys don't have weapons. CeeDee Lamb is a tremendous wide receiver. Pollard and Zeke give them a 1-2 punch in the backfield that a lot of teams would die to have. Dallas is absolutely loaded with talent. It's one of these situations where a lot of times we kind of laugh at the Cowboys, and especially remember the game last year against the 49ers when it was at home and the 49ers won. They were heavy underdogs, and Dak lost his mind at the end of the game and ran straight up the field with no timeouts left, down 6 points. And then the clock ran out. I think Dallas wants a little bit of payback, and that's an angle that not a lot of people are talking about. San Francisco is probably the most dangerous team left in the field, but Dallas is the one team that I think can beat them and can keep up with them from a trading blows standpoint. When I made my unofficial picks earlier, last week, I picked the 49ers to win this game. I'm not going that route this time. I got the Dallas Cowboys. I got them winning this game. They are 4-point underdogs, so it's almost a pick 'em. You get 3 points essentially for being at home. So they're getting 4 points here. I've got them winning straight up 34-28. So there you go, Francine. Cowboys 34-28 over the San Francisco 49ers. Interesting note, Dallas has lost 7 straight games as road dogs. That streak comes to an end. All right, so let's go ahead and do my prediction here. I've got the Bills winning, I got the Chiefs winning, I got the Eagles winning, and I got the Cowboys winning. So I got Chiefs and Bills, which will take place in Atlanta, and I got Cowboys-Eagles, which will take place in Kansas City. It'll take place in Philadelphia. So I think the NFL wants the Chiefs and Bills there because of what happened last year, and I think it's a testing ground for moving the conference championship games to a neutral site, which would be a terrible idea, but that's what the league wants to do. So again, my official picks. Let's go back through them. Kansas City 45-17 over the Jaguars. I'm picking a big number there. It may not come to fruition. But as long as the Chiefs win and cover, fine, whatever. It doesn't matter. I don't care if the Chiefs cover. Just win. Win by 1 point. Don't care. But I think it's going to be a blowout. Philadelphia 34-24 over the Giants. Buffalo 26-24 over Cincinnati. Cowboys 34-28. I've got one road team winning this week. I've got the Cowboys winning. All the other games, I have the higher seed moving on. The top of the NFL this year is incredibly great. But I've got the 49ers losing because, again, I was so impressed with the Cowboys. And to me, this comes down to quarterback experience. If Dak turns the ball over a lot, the Cowboys are going to lose. If he doesn't turn the ball over, they win. It's that simple in this game. He's got to take care of the ball. If he takes care of the ball, they will beat the 49ers. You can mark it down, take it to the bank. Let's see if I can go 4-0 here, and let's see if we can get a rematch for the third straight year. Well, not in the conference championship game, but at least the Chiefs and Bills. Again, I would much rather exact revenge on the Bengals, but I just don't see the Bengals pulling through with their offensive line issues. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to the channel for more content. I will be back on maybe Sunday night. Monday, definitely. I'm going to see Avatar on Sunday afternoon with my daughter, so I'm going to actually miss one of the football games. But I will try to get a video up after the 49ers and Cowboys game, maybe an instant reaction, and then we'll do an official reaction, official review of the weekend as we head into the conference championship games. What a time to be a football fan, especially if you're a fan of the Chiefs. Going all the way this year, baby. Thanks a lot, guys, for watching this video. We'll talk to you later. Have a good one.